All right.
I think Fiery War Axe and Innervate might be like the two strongest cards in Hearthstone, and they both got banned. So I like that. Just something new. Let's figure something else out.
And it's still pretty crazy to see those classes played with their strongest card gone. And that's just a tribute to how strong the class is in general. That you need to take away more than just their strongest card to really knock them into the ground. And in Druid's case, they took away everything, and people are still playing it. So
it might be an isolated case. I think Strife Crow has like a sort of a personal attachment to the Druid class. All right, we're into the game here.
All right. So you can see the classes up on the screen. We have Tides of Time rocking the Hunter, the Rogue, and the Warrior with the Priest band. And then you have Super JJ rocking the Hunter, the Mage, and the Paladin with the Shaman band. So I like the pickup of the Shaman band. Round 2's happening around. People are realizing that, Shaman has a 100% win rate. You better start banning that.
200% at this point, right? Like 2-0, 200%. I think that's the math. Okay. Turn 2 ping this Firebat. Seems good. JJ's got the Water Elemental, which has fallen out of favor in some tempo mages recently. And Tides of Time, probably just coining out this animal. Oh, no. He chooses to save the coin for maybe a turn 5 high main. He's going to go turn 3 Animal Companion, turn 4 Infested Wolf, turn 5 coin high main. So now it's on JJ. He can play the Flame Waker for tempo, or he can just ping pass. And he makes the tempo play. He knows that the matchup against Hunter is very tempo focused.
Yeah, it's really weak to Huffer, but even in the instance of Huffer, you're still able to get down a Water Elemental against an Abusive Sergeant, so you're keeping up on tempo and staying ahead that way. But, Tides of Time didn't have an answer, so this is an absolute blowout for Super JJ. You can see him laughing to himself in his chair there, and there goes the board. Yeah, he's able to keep it at 4 health, too, outside of the range of Hunter's Removal. Hunter's Removal comes in groups of 3. You got Quick Shot at 3, Kill Command at 3, the Bow at 3, and the Lone Huffer Missile at 4.
The Huffer Missile. This Tundra Rhino kind of messed up Tides' plan of coin high main on 5. I mean, he can still do it. It's still pretty good. Yeah, it's probably correct.
Yeah, he's going to have to do it now that Super JJ is just killing everything, taking care of even the Infested Wolf there with his Flame Waker. It's just so many missiles.
Trade to clear off the beast, plays around Kill Command? Not really, just plays around Houndmaster this turn, I suppose. I mean, missing 2 damage is acceptable to play around Houndmaster, right?
Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense for sure.
We've got a clear here. And this is often correct against Tempo Mage. Rather than developing your own minions, you probably want to clear the Tempo Mage's minions, because the Tempo Mage's minions have so much synergy with their spells. If you develop your own minion, they use their spells to clear your minion while their minion hits you in the face, and that's just free damage, and it starts adding up, and you lose. So you just want to clear the Tempo Mage's minions, leave them with just spells, and then it's a lot harder for them to find a winning game plan.
Yeah, I'm looking at this right now, and it's really hard for Tides of Time to come back while being so far behind already. There's so much damage on the side for Super JJ. So much board clear.
Yeah, I think a lot of it came down to that awkward turn 2 from Tides of Time where it was just Abusive Sergeant and nothing else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just missed his early game curve, and the Tempo Mage was able to just punish that so effectively. And that's kind of one of the risks when you bring these tempo-oriented Hunter decks is they could oftentimes, have some weak early game and can't really recover from it too efficiently. Unleash the Hounds is not a great recovery card. Like, it tries to do the job, but it's better at just pushing damage than it is at really recovering.
Oh, that's a pretty big pickup.
That can charge, too.
Yeah, how do we do this?
Tundra Rhino and then play the thing. And then...
Then it gets interesting.
And you can kill the Water Elemental. It gets only +1 health each time, though. 5. So, yeah, you can kill the 5/5, but then if you kill the 5/5, your Tundra Rhino dies. So you'd have to use the Tundra Rhino's attack last, so then you'd hit
I was killing the 5/5 with my 2/2 and my 4/3 Scavenging Hyena.
Oh, okay.
And then my Tundra Rhino is going face, and so is my other 2/2. We're not clearing the Thalanos, or maybe clear the Thalanos with something. Clear it with the Rhino to play around Fireball a little bit, so it's overkill. No, you don't kill it with the Rhino, because then the Rhino's at 4 health, it dies to Water Early Ping.
Looks like he's going with the Grandmother to try and clear off.
I like this, yeah. Grandma is so good. Like Death Rattles in general are so good with the Rhino. You get the same thing with High Mane and Infested Wolf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. He's able to clean up a lot of damage. Right now, all he's trying to do is buy his time, I guess. But the problem with trying to buy time, you're hoping your Tempo Mage opponent doesn't have any minions. But looking at Super JJ's hand, he's got 6 cards already loaded in his hand, up against Tides of Time's only 2 cards. Which, typically speaking, in these scenarios is when, as the Hunter player, you go all face and hope your damage is able to make it there and you can squeeze out enough hero powers because you're losing the value game. And without any Call of Wild in this Hunter deck, there is really, really, really slim chance that Tides of Time is going to be able to win this value game against Super JJ's hand size.
JJ's laughing and having a good time. He's liking this.
Yeah, it seems to be an unlosable position for JJ.
Yeah, for Tides to win this game, usually you need to have more face damage done in the earlier game from having a better opening, but the draw just didn't quite pan out. Maybe if he'd coined Animal Companion on turn 2, maybe if he'd just rolled that offer on turn 3 so he could actually deal with the Flamewaker instead of getting wrecked by it, but yeah, JJ's having too much fun.
Yeah, just having a blast there with the Tempo Mage. And that's going to be a quick game 1 victory for JJ. The Smork lineup pulling through a quick victory against Tides of Time decks. So following up with this, Tides of Time still has all of his decks available to him except for the Priest, which was the target of Super JJ's ban. As weird as that sounds.
That's an interesting ban. What do you think the reasoning is behind that Priest ban?
I guess Super JJ
Priest
was
is an anti-Smork deck?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the reasoning. But he's gotten his Oth in there, right? So that's like a 10 drop. That's a dead card against the Smork lineup. He had Double Entomb as well, right?
Yeah, so, Double Entomb.
I think the Shifting Shade is pretty bad against aggressive strategies. We saw, I think there's got to be 2 of those.
Yeah, it's
Sylvanas is a little bit slow.
Yeah.
That Priest might not be very anti-aggro. I think that might be an anti-control Priest that's actually weak to Smork.
Yeah, I feel like Tides of Time would have had a hard time winning with his Priest against Super JJ's lineup, but Super JJ maybe didn't watch closely enough to see that it's an anti-control Priest instead of anti-aggro and was just afraid that, is it going to be able to get a win? But, the Paladin from Super JJ coming out. It looks like it is some sort of aggressive Paladin. Here we go.
It was banned the first time around, right? I don't think we saw it.
It was banned the first time around, and now it's coming out. So it makes sense with his lineup. He's got, Smork Hunter, Smork Mage, and mid-range to Smork Shaman, and then now Smork Paladin to fill everything out.
Divine Favor and unlucky draw against the Hunter deck. This is not the matchup we wanted, and we wanted against the Murloc Paladin, right? Any Finn.
Yeah, exactly.
Finley lines up against Firebat though, crushes your invitational card or your world champion card.
Yeah, it does. I just can't deal with 1/3s, man. I was good back in 2014 when everyone was just 2/1s all the time, but now everyone's 1/3s, man. I haven't adjusted well enough.
Unlucky.
Can't win tournaments.
so Dagger Mastery is pretty bad considering we have 2 weapons in hand. Yeah, probably just armor up, potentially useful in the late game. We're trying not to hero power in the early game.
Sure, yeah. But it could be the difference maker in the super late game. With all these weapons, you're going to be taking a lot of damage. Maybe you can outvalue your opponent with weapons since they don't have Call of the Wild. Maybe they just don't get high mate.
Here's some esports. 2 mana 4/3.
Boom.
Crushing it. Tides like that. He's not. No, you're not celebrating anymore, JJ. What changed?
They can see each other too because they're in a Skype call with each other, so they can see each other making faces. Oh, they're talking to each other? Okay. Yeah,
nice curve from both players so far, but this turn is where it gets awkward. Oh boy. JJ's hand just not lining up well. Do you have to hit something with that weapon just because you want to True Silver next turn, or
do you want to True Silver next turn? Consecrate's pretty good.
Yeah, especially when you look at Tides' actual hand. Just 2 more cheap minions coming out.
Yeah, I don't think you swing. Like, what would you even swing at? The Divine Shield? Because swinging at the other way gives a value trade. So, yeah, no, you set up for Consecrate for sure.
So the Selfless Hero is not getting any Death Rattle value here.
Nope.
You're probably trading your Divine Shield into it, right? Are we hand dumping to get a quick shot draw the following turn?
It wouldn't be unreasonable.
Alpha Argent Squire.
How much do you fear Consecrate from Aggro Paladin? That's the real question, right? Like, it's not a typical Aggro Paladin card, is it? Aggro Paladin's not a typical deck. So
yeah,
what would you put in your Aggro Paladin deck if you were bringing Aggro Paladin to this meta?
A lot of times it's Mysterious Challenger, right? Did that change?
Secrets, yeah.
It's like Mysterious Challenger with a very light secret package, just like 4 1-ofs or something.
Yeah, that's typically what I've seen in aggressive Paladin decks in the standard meta. But JJ's
This
is a
might
little
not
bit
be
faster
that.
than that. Yeah, his is even faster. But Tides of Time does play around the Consecrate a little bit, holds back the Direwolf Alpha, and it's going to be rewarded for that.
Cool. Is he rewarded enough? Yeah, it's enough to be relevant anyways. Who do you think's favorite here?
Depends when the high main is drawn, I think. I think that's the biggest factor, right? Like, Super JJ has no answers in his deck to high main. And Tides of Time is running out of cards unless he finds high main. And if he doesn't find high main ever, then Super JJ can just outvalue with weapons and armor up to outlast the damage and win that way.
It's funny, this quick shot in Tides of Time makes him want to empty his hand, and JJ wants him to not empty the hand because of the Divine Favor.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the second Divine Favor. That is so bad. That makes it even harder to get one card off Divine Favor.
Good high main turn. What do you think?
Yeah, like if high main comes down here, Tides of Time wins, right? And oh my god, I cursed it. I cursed it. I cursed it by saying high main.
Man, savage. Yeah.
Yeah. He just doesn't have enough for it, and getting both those Divine Favors are absolutely no help. So the aggro Paladin fumbling a little bit, but you can't expect it to do quite that strong against the Hunter, but against some of Tides of Time's other decks, maybe it's able to pull it out. We have the Warrior from Tides of Time and the Rogue against Tides of Time. Did we see the Warrior already? Yeah, the Warrior is a control type for Warrior, right?
I'm going to say it's Cthulhu, or was it something with Fool's Bane? There was a lot of Worgen Warrior. I can't remember that at this point. I can say that that game it was pretty unlucky for JJ, right?
Yeah,
like
definitely didn't curve out very well at both
the double Divine Favor draw and the high main rip on 6. All of that was like very influential. Like it's not necessarily such a bad matchup for the Paladin.
Sure,
I'm not sure.
All right, so I think Tides of Time might actually be favored, though. This Paladin deck, does it have a good win rate against aggro Rogue? Like, Tides of Time is bringing like a Death Rattle aggressive Rogue that probably fights for the board better than Paladin does, right? Like with things like Backstab, SI7, the Raptors and the Hucksters generating value without, expending too many resources. So I have to lean towards that being a favorite for the Rogue, and then
I'll agree, yeah.
The Warrior can probably outlast the firepower of the Paladin. So I'm leaning more towards, at this point, Tides of Time coming out on top with his lineup instead of Super JJ. But we'll have to see if this Paladin can get the job done.
I think, JJ's Priest Band might really hurt him a lot in this series.
I have to imagine the Priest would have probably been slow enough that the Paladin might have been able to get a win against it, right? Like those Divine Favors are just so huge against the Priest, and their removal isn't great until like turn 5. So that might have been like the big misplay of the series, was just banning Priest.
Now this is more of a Divine Favor matchup, right? We saw all those slow cards in Tides' hand, like Azure Drake, Fan and Knives, Nizoth. He actually does have Nizoth. I was saying no way with Argent Squad, and you were like, hey man, he could do it.
Yeah, I've seen it before. I don't think it's crazy, but it's definitely interesting. And Super JJ's Paladin deck.
Pretty awkward draw this game.
A good old Argent Protector on turn 2, it not being able to buff anything. A little unfortunate.
It's like an Enchanted Raven. Turn 1 pass, turn 2 Enchanted Raven. That's our curve here. And a coin SI7 agent. Wow. The Rallying Blade, though, catches him right back up. He's not out of it by any means. Turn 4, Argent Horse Rider with a Worgen Infiltrator.
Yeah, and Tides of Time's out of things to do now, so he's likely just going to be like trying to discover a play or daggering up this turn if he's not able to find one here.
I'm thinking about it. There was some strategic value to JJ's concede because if he didn't concede there, he was going to start having really awkward turns, which sort of gives away the Divine Favor a bit, which is otherwise really unknown and important information for Tides.
Yeah, especially when you see Consecrate in the deck, right? Like you see Consecrate, you don't immediately expect Divine Favor to be in a Consecrate style deck. So yeah, Super JJ's concede last game did conceal a little bit of information. We see him smork into the face, not sinking 5 damage into that Argent Squire. Just going to go all face, try and get that damage in. And we see him playing 2 minions this turn to maybe empty his hand a little bit for the Divine Favor on the following turn.
Fan and Knives pretty savage against JJ's deck.
Yeah. But
Is it the
JJ
turn?
wants him to Fan of Knives, right? Like JJ's expecting Fan of Knives here, and if Fan of Knives happens, he's going to get some sick Divine Favor value. So he's not even too upset that it happens. He's maybe a little upset that Tides is the second Argent Squire to empty his hand a little bit, but here comes that
Tempo abusive.
Yeah.
Very little self-respect. No true silver face here.
Really,
You like the Divine Favor better?
I think you got to get it out there. You're running out of time for it to be really, really good.
Okay. We're going into like an Azure Drake turn, which is an argument for saving it a turn. But
Okay. Yeah. So it does have enough
control
damage.
for Tides.
Second weapon, all of the weapons. The third weapon for JJ. Every game we've seen of this Paladin, all two of them have been
lucky.
Yeah, really awkward, heavy weapon draws. But he runs 4 weapons, right? So it's bound to happen occasionally. But having to trade as aggro Paladin feels bad.
But they're always double Divine Favor draws, like never a real early curve.
He's drawn Consecrate 4 weapons and double Divine Favor, or 3 Consecrate 3 weapons, double Divine Favor every game so far.
Yeah, aggro Paladin's not the consistent deck, not the most consistent deck, but it's not nearly as bad as it's looking in these games. He's low rolling for sure.
For sure. So as Tides of Time, and he's got this whole giant hand, but not really great ways to put up pressure with it. How does he? Like, he doesn't have anything he can do. His hand is
so bad in this position.
Yeah, it's like if he just had minions of any kind to just start, putting on pressure, he could be in such a better spot. But any double sap, eviscerate, shadow strike, all these reactive cards, he's unable to do anything. He's only on 6 mana, so coining the N'Zoth is really far away. He's thinking about launching an eviscerate at the face to play around the Divine Favor right now.
Tides has all these great answers, but unlucky for him, JJ's board is terrible.
Yeah, and he's holding on to it. He's not going to be playing around Divine Favor number 2, and that could cost him a little bit here, as JJ's got some dirty Divine Favor value, but picks up another 4-drop in his Divine Favor deck.
Always awkward.
Yeah, but still, like, look at, he's still able to get a bunch of cards here. Tides' hand is currently 6.
Yeah.
So this is a 3-mana draw for 3 in your aggro deck. And he's drawing another card off the Huckster. So it's a 3-mana draw 4. Leroy's picked up.
Leroy's a big deal with that weapon. Like, now he's getting somewhere.
He's got 16 damage, 17, 18 damage in his hand on turn.
Tides is at 17, so that sounds favorable. It takes a couple turns to get it all out there.
It takes a couple turns, yeah. It's going to take
3 there's turns. An Argus. But Tides needs minions.
He needs minions to Argus.
The quality is exactly what his hand does not need.
Oh, the Horse Rider allows him to
copy with the Kings, right?
You get the Blade in there. Do you want to swing twice?
Okay.
And the Abusive in there, and then you're able to, Kings Leroy next turn doing 18 damage. So this is the way to set up for lethal.
Wow, look at this.
Yeah. So next turn,
terrible drop for JJ working out.
Yeah, he's gonna have lethal next turn with Leroy Kings. He's done the most damage he possibly could.
Backstab is
just no minions.
Not a minion.
Tides of Time's playing minion rogue, right? There's no preps, so there's no gadgetsons. So the only spells are like sap, eviscerate, shadow strike, backstab, and he hit all of them.
Yeah, he just drew it all.
He drew every single spell. Like, holy smokes.
Do you think Smork Paladin is generally favored against Rogue? Like, Rogue typically does badly against aggression, right? Because they just don't have heals or taunts. They beat up on the mid-range decks that can't Smork as hard. But if you have like a just send things to the face plan, you typically do pretty well against Rogue, especially if they have N'Zoth.
Mm-hmm. Typically against like the slower roads with like Gadgets and Auctioneer and the like and things like that, the face decks are super, super good. But I was thinking that, Backstab might have been enough of a tempo card that if it had like a lot of minions in it, it was like a minion-based rogue. Since since Preparation is banned, there's probably going to be more minions. I thought the rogue was going to have a better chance, but not finding those minions has been really costly for the rogue, and we'll wind it up with the rogue getting destroyed.
Yep. So JJ going up 2-1 in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Finds a win with his Paladin. He needs a win with his Hunter, whereas Tides needs to win with his Rogue and Warrior. The Rogue might struggle against Hunter. No, I don't know. Like, the N'Zoth is really slow, right?
Yeah. The N'Zoth is really slow. We didn't see any Earthen Ring Farseers. We saw the Raptors instead in that slot for Tides of Time's deck. So there's unlikely to be any heal in the deck. There's one Argus for sure, maybe two. If he's able to, curve out and land an Argus on 4, he's going to do great against the Hunter deck. We saw the Hunter deck from Super JJ isn't straight Smork. It's got the secret package in there. So there's a lot of inconsistency with it. He could just draw all secrets and lose for sure. And then the Rogue is able to wiggle out, and then Tides of Time just has the Warrior left. And if it's some sort of control Warrior archetype, can maybe use shield blocks, whatnot, to just outlast the Hunter. So I wouldn't say he's out of it yet.
Yeah, Warrior does a lot better against Hunter now that Call of the Wild's gone, right? Even with Fiery War Axe out of the way, I think Call of the Wild's just such a big deal.
And we've seen Super JJ play this Hunter deck like 5 times, and we have never seen a high main present for it.
Bilefin Tide Hunter.
What is good? Murloc Warrior? It's for the Curator, right? It's just it's the new War Axe, I guess.
Okay.
The Bilefin War Axe.
This is blowing my mind right now.
These are some interesting cards for sure. He may have taken innovation to the next level.
You really did.
He's gone crazy deep with it, and this is the first time I've seen Super JJ's Hunter have like a really solid hand.
Yeah, I was just thinking to myself, how does he curve out? I guess he just plays this, coins into Houndmaster next turn. That's
yeah,
pretty slick.
It's not bad, and then he's got
turn 4 Squire with a 3-drop. Yeah.
Yeah. Ghoul's not that terrible.
It still falls behind against the Houndmaster, but
yeah, this is better against the Houndmaster for sure. It's a stronger minion out. Wow, he's got the secret guy with the trap if he wants it as well. So he's going to be able to clear off this minion, and then next turn be able to play a secret out there for free with a 3/4 body.
So playing Squire means if he draws a 2-drop, he can't play it with Cloaked Huntress next turn, for instance. But it makes sense with the intention of, just playing Houndmaster next turn.
Sure, yeah. Able to just get more ability to trade with things out there. Usually you don't really want to Freezing Trap an Acolyte, so I like the Houndmaster here, so you can Freezing Trap something bigger, more important.
Okay. Yeah, especially against Tides' hand. You can see Freezing Trap is insane against Sylvanas.
Mm-hmm.
We won't mention the Acera. It's just not useful in this matchup, right? You just die.
Yeah. This is the greediest Warrior deck I think we've seen in the entire tournament.
This is, it's kind of a good read on the meta. It's just not good against JJ. But a lot of these players like to play control decks. They like to play greedy decks. We've been seeing that all over the place.
True.
So and Tides is himself a greedy control player as well. So
yeah. We invited all of the greedy control players to this turn.
And JJ looks at that and he's just like, Smork?
Yeah. I mean, even himself, a lot of times JJ usually favors the greedy control decks, but he's switching it up a little bit for this event.
Yeah, there's a big competitive advantage into being the guy who's doing something different, right? As long as the something different isn't bad. And being smorking in Hearthstone is just never bad, right?
Look at how many bow charges Super JJ is going to get, and look at how many they're going to be taken away by the Harrison Jones.
Man, Harry Bay, such value. Much wow.
Only one secret proc. The Harrison Jones will...
It's still really good.
Yeah, it's going to die when it comes into play. And the battle cry happens before the minion comes into play, right? So I don't know if he gets a charge from this. I don't think he gets the 3rd charge. I think it's only 2 charges, so he only draws 2 cards.
That sounds right to me. I'm excited to find out. Come on, you got to do it, Tides.
I think you kind of have to, right? It's either that or Sylvanas, right? Those are the 2 options now that Freezing Trap's out of the way. And if you're worried about Snipe, Sylvanas could be decent. Your opponent gets an extra bow charge, though, but Brawl's a good pickup here. Brawl is a really good pickup. But yeah, the counter to Harrison. Harrison got countered so hard. Ooh. Firebat. Not quite the power level you really want.
The card you really want to see here is Tides of Time is Revenge, right?
Oh, yeah. If he runs Revenge, that is perfect for him.
Not quite active.
I mean, you got to just Brawl Armor and try to limit the damage, right? And then you hope maybe you can just...
Can you Brawl Taunt up the Bilefin?
No, Brawl Bilefin.
Could you try and win the Brawl with the Bilefin? Are you that kind of believer? Just like we got... Oh,
okay. is hold on to the Brawl and just get the Ghoul out there plus the Biofan. All right, that's not bad. You're able to reduce the damage down to 3 and...
All right, 7 to the face, put him down to 6.
Did he miss an armor up?
I think he spent his mana.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think he only spent 5 mana.
I can't really see the crystals.
Either way, he's stabilizing ish. You know, he's able to now tank up every turn for 4, and Super JJ only does 4 damage a turn. So Super JJ needs to find, you know, Leroy off the top basically, but the bow over 2 turns is going to be enough damage to get it done, right? Almost.
Maybe. Kind of depends on what happens here. Because we have Ravaging Ghoul, right? And we go up to 7. There's only 5 coming in. There's the Revenge, but a little bit late.
5 coming in, going up to 7. Top deck looking for 2 damage. There's so many cards in Super JJ's deck that are able to take it down, but...
Unleash is interesting here. If he doesn't play a minion, he plays around the Unleash top deck lethal. Nope.
Doesn't look like he's going to do that. So Unleash is live. So there's 2 Unleashes, 2 kill commands, 1 quick shot, and that's going to be game. And so Super JJ is taking it 3-1 over Tides of Time with the Smork Hunter. A pretty nutty draw from the Smork Hunter there, but...
Yep. I mean, he had to draw well eventually, right? He had such bad draws in the previous games. He's moving on to the finals, right? And we'll determine who his opponent is with the next match.
Smork lives on. Smork moves on to the finals. You know, I don't know if the players banned like enough Smork cards. I think, you know, they're kind of like banned around the edges of the Smork decks, but didn't really hit on them too much. They were more concerned with like Druid basically with their bans. So it's interesting that so many Smork cards were left up, and Super JJ kind of taking advantage of that and punishing some players there. So
it's just a good metagame call, just reading the players in the tournament and realizing so many of these guys want to play stuff like Priest, Reno Lock, just slow, greedy stuff, and just be like, all right, well, let's go. I'm going to hit you in the face. I'm a professional. I know what this means.
I'm still kind of like overwhelmed by the amount of Paladin and the amount of like Paladin targeted lineups. Like almost every player brought Paladin, and almost every player brought a lineup that targets Paladin. Yeah, there's just like the amount of Murloc Paladin is just crazy, and Murloc Paladin has not been performing well for anybody really. It's been kind of
because it's being targeted, right?
Yeah, sure, because it's being targeted. Interesting.